There is a secret map hidden in plain sight, one that traces the journey of your own soul. This map is the labyrinth, an ancient symbol found in sacred sites and spiritual traditions across the globe. Most people mistake it for a simple maze, but that confusion hides its true power. By the end of our journey, you will never look at a winding path the same way again. We will uncover why a mythical beast waits at its heart and what single thread can guide you through life's greatest challenges. What is the one symbol that has always felt strangely familiar to you? This crucial difference between a labyrinth and a maze changes everything. A maze is built to be a puzzle. It is a web of false turns and dead ends, a deliberate test of your logic and memory where getting lost is the entire point. Your intellect is the only tool you have to battle its confusing corridors, but a labyrinth offers a completely different kind of journey. It has just one path. This single, winding route, what scholars call a unicursal path, does not ask you to choose a direction. It does not present you with forks in the road or try to trick you. Instead, it invites you to surrender to the walk itself. Every twist and turn, even when it feels like it is taking you away from the center, is part of the one and only way forward. You cannot get lost because you are always on the path. Think of it like this. A maze is a problem you are meant to solve with your thinking mind. A labyrinth is an experience you are meant to feel with your entire being. This is why its form holds such deep spiritual power. It is not a test of how smart you are. It is a guided pilgrimage for your soul, a metaphor for a life journey where the path itself is your teacher, leading you inevitably toward the center of your own being. This single path design appears again and again, etched into the very skin of the earth by cultures who could never have spoken to one another. High on a rock face in prehistoric Europe, a spiraling petroglyph was carved, its coils echoing the shape of a snail's shell. Across the ocean, the Tohono-O'odham people of North America created the man in the maze, a powerful symbol depicting Ayatoi, the mischievous creator god, at the entrance of an intricate labyrinth. The journey through its four directions represents a human life, with all its trials and ultimate emergence. Then there is the story we all think we know, the Greek myth of the Minotaur. A fearsome beast, half man and half bull, imprisoned at the heart of a confusing structure built by the master craftsman Daedalus. But this was not a maze of choices. Ancient descriptions and depictions suggest the labyrinth of Crete was a single, winding path, a trap designed to confound and contain, not to puzzle. Centuries later, across the great Gothic cathedrals of medieval Europe like Chartres, immense labyrinths were laid into the stone floors. Pilgrims who could not travel to Jerusalem would walk these paths on their knees, a substitute for a physical pilgrimage, their fingers tracing the sacred geometry as a prayer. From prehistoric art to Native American wisdom, from classical myth to Christian devotion, the same pattern emerges. How could such disconnected cultures all arrive at this identical symbol? It points to something deeper than shared history. The labyrinth seems to be a universal archetype, a primordial image etched into the collective human soul. It is a shared spiritual blueprint for the journey of life itself, a map we all instinctively understand. That universal blueprint finds its most dramatic expression in the ancient story of the Cretan labyrinth. We have all heard the myth of King Minos, the master craftsman Daedalus, and the monstrous Minotaur trapped at the labyrinth's heart, but this is far more than a simple monster story. It is a profound map of the human psyche. The Minotaur itself, a hybrid creature of man and bull, is a perfect symbol for our own primal, untamed nature. It represents the raw instincts, the repressed fears, and the chaotic passions that we often lock away in the deepest corners of our being. This is the shadow self, the part of us we are afraid to acknowledge, let alone face. The labyrinth is the complex structure of our own mind, designed to contain this terrifying aspect of ourselves. Then enters the hero, Theseus. He is not a god, but a mortal man, representing our own conscious ego. the part of us that seeks order and control. His voluntary journey into the winding passages is an act of immense courage. He is not there to simply kill a beast. He is there to confront the very essence of his own darkness. This descent into the labyrinth is the ultimate initiation. It is the difficult, winding path of self-discovery where we must meet what we fear most. The slaying of the Minotaur is not about destruction, but about integration. It is the moment the conscious self faces the shadow, understands it, and brings it into the light of awareness, transforming raw chaos into personal power. This is why the story has endured for millennia. It is not an external adventure, but an internal one. It tells us that the greatest monster we will ever face resides within, and the most heroic journey we can undertake is the walk into our own labyrinthine soul. But how does a hero, or any of us, find the courage to face such a monster? The myth gives us the answer in the form of a simple, yet miraculous gift. Before Theseus enters the labyrinth, Princess Ariadne hands him a ball of thread. This is not just a clever tool, it is the very lifeline that makes the entire journey possible. While Theseus represents our conscious will, Ariadne's thread symbolizes something far more subtle and profound. It is the voice of intuition, the whisper of divine guidance, the unshakable faith that we are connected to a source of wisdom greater than our own fearful minds. As Theseus walks deeper into the labyrinth's confusing passages, he does not rely on his memory or his intellect to mark the way. He trusts the thread. He unspools it behind him, creating a tangible connection to the world outside, to the love and support that sent him on this quest. This thread is his promise of return. It is the assurance that no matter how deep he goes into his own darkness, he is never truly lost. He can always follow that slender line back to the light, back to his center, back to himself. Think of a time in your own life when you faced a deep uncertainty, a period of confusion where the path forward was completely obscured. What was it that guided you? It likely was not a detailed map or a perfect plan. It was probably a gut feeling, a quiet inner knowing, a sudden moment of clarity that came from a place you could not logically explain. That is your Ariadne's thread. It is the spiritual compass that always points true north, even when you are walking in circles in the dark. We all have access to this thread. Sometimes we call it faith. Other times we call it grace or the voice of our higher self. It is that inexplicable pull toward a certain decision, the dream that offers a cryptic answer, the synchronistic event that feels like a sign. The labyrinth of life will always have its twists and turns, moments that feel like you are moving further from your goal. But when you learn to trust your thread, you realize every step is necessary. You understand that you are always, inevitably, on the one and only path that leads you home. This single thread of intuition finds its ultimate expression not just in myth, but in a physical practice you can walk with your own 2 feet. Walking a labyrinth transforms a spiritual metaphor into a tangible, bodily experience. This is not a journey for the mind alone. It is a pilgrimage for the entire self, a form of moving meditation that has been practiced for centuries. You do not rush, there is no finish line to cross. The purpose is found in the process itself, in the slow, deliberate placement of one foot in front of the other. The journey unfolds in 3 distinct yet flowing stages. As you first step onto the path and begin your winding walk toward the center, you enter a phase of releasing. This is the path of purgation. With every step, you consciously let go of the day's noise, your mental to-do lists, your anxieties and fears. It is a symbolic shedding, as if you are leaving your worldly burdens along the path behind you, lightening your load with each turn. When you finally arrive at the center, you enter a space of quiet receptivity. This is the stage of illumination. Here, you pause, you stand or sit in the heart of the labyrinth, in a space that feels both deeply contained and infinitely open. This is not a time for active thinking, but for listening. It is a moment to be still and open, to receive whatever insight, peace, or clarity the journey inward has made space for. The center is not a destination, but a sacred pause. Then you turn and begin the journey back out along the same winding path. This return walk is the stage of union. It is where you integrate the stillness and insight from the center, carrying it back with you into the world. You are not leaving the sacred behind. You are weaving it into your everyday life, bringing your newfound perspective back to your relationships, your work, and your choices. The entire walk is a complete cycle of transformation. You release, you receive, and you return, forever changed by the path you have traveled. So what awaits us in that sacred space at the heart of the winding path? The center of the labyrinth is not a trophy to be won. It is a destination of profound arrival. Imagine walking for what feels like an eternity, the path coiling back on itself, your mind quieting with each step until suddenly the turns cease. You step into an open space, a still point around which the entire journey has revolved. This is the core of your own being. In spiritual traditions, this center is known by many names. It is the Godhead, the source of all creation. It is enlightenment, that state of pure awareness and peace. In the language of depth psychology, Carl Jung called it the self, the unified and whole essence of who you are, a perfect balance of your conscious and unconscious worlds. This is the place where the divine outside of you meets the divine within you. It is the point of ultimate connection. When you stand in the center, you are not there to accomplish anything. The goal is simply to be fully present, to breathe, to listen. This is a space of radical potential, a quiet void where anything can be revealed. It is the blank canvas before the paint is applied, the silence before the music begins. Here, in this profound stillness, the seeker opens themselves completely. It is an act of surrender, of letting down the final walls and allowing a deeper truth to emerge. This revelation might not come as a booming voice or a flash of light. More often, it is a gentle knowing, a deep sense of peace, or a sudden, simple clarity about a question you have been carrying. The center is where you finally meet yourself, not as you think you are, but as you truly are, whole and complete, and in that meeting you touch the eternal. That center of profound stillness is reached by a path that is never a straight line. It meanders, loops back on itself, and coils in a pattern that is deeply familiar to the natural world. Look closely at the labyrinth's design, and you will see it is fundamentally a complex spiral. This is no accident. The spiral is one of humanity's oldest and most universal spiritual symbols. It represents the cosmic life force itself, the primordial energy that swirls galaxies into being and shapes the shells of snails. It is the visual expression of cycles, of birth, death, and rebirth, seen in the turning of the seasons and the very DNA that codes our existence. As you walk the labyrinth's coiled path, you are physically tracing the unfolding of your own consciousness, moving from the outer world of noise and distraction toward the silent, potent center of your being. This same winding motion is mirrored in another powerful ancient symbol, the serpent. In many wisdom traditions, the labyrinth's path is seen as a serpentine journey. In the yogic teachings of India, this is the path of Kundalini, a dormant spiritual energy visualized as a serpent coiled at the base of the spine. The journey to the center of the labyrinth is akin to this sacred energy awakening. With each mindful step, it is as if this inner serpent begins to uncoil, rising up through the body's energy centers, the chakras, clearing blockages and illuminating each level of your existence. The walk to the center becomes a profound activation, a slow and steady ascent toward a state of expanded awareness and enlightenment. The labyrinth, therefore, is far more than a path on the ground. It is a living map of your own spiritual anatomy. The spiral is the macrocosm, the great wheel of the universe and your soul's journey through time. The serpent is the microcosm, the intimate, powerful energy moving within you right now. When you walk the labyrinth, you are aligning these two great forces. You are the spiral and you are the serpent, consciously participating in your own rebirth with every step you take. The stone floor of Chartres Cathedral holds a masterpiece of sacred art. Built in the early 13th century, this immense labyrinth spans 42 feet in diameter, a circular journey laid directly into the floor for any soul to walk. Medieval pilgrims knew it as the Chemin de Jerusalem, the road to Jerusalem, for those who could not undertake the perilous, expensive journey to the Holy Land. This path offered a profound alternative. Each step along its winding circuits became a prayer, a physical act of devotion that mirrored the spiritual ascent toward the divine, but this was more than a symbolic pilgrimage. The design of the Chartres labyrinth is a precise mathematical marvel. Its patterns are built upon the principles of sacred geometry, incorporating the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio. These are the same mathematical relationships found at the heart of nature, in the spiral of a nautilus shell and the seed arrangement of a sunflower. The builders were not just creating a path, they were encoding a cosmic truth into stone, a divine blueprint for the universe and the human soul's place within it. Walking this path was not merely a substitute for a physical journey, it was an act of aligning your own being with the fundamental order of creation. With every step, the pilgrim was tracing a map of harmony, proportion, and spiritual perfection, moving closer to an understanding that the journey to God is written into the very fabric of reality, a pattern we can follow with our own 2 feet. This same sacred geometry that underpins Chartres finds a parallel in the seclusion of the alchemist's laboratory. For the medieval alchemist, the labyrinth was not a physical path to walk, but a profound spiritual map of the inner transformation known as the opus magnum, the great work. Their ultimate goal was not to create literal gold, but to transmute the base lead of the unenlightened soul into the spiritual gold of the enlightened self. The labyrinth's winding, singular path perfectly mirrored this arduous, non-linear journey of personal purification and rebirth. The alchemist did not proceed in a straight line. Their work was a cycle of complex stages, each one a necessary turn in the spiritual labyrinth. It began with calcination, a symbolic burning away of the ego, the illusions and attachments that cloud our true nature. Imagine the heat of a profound personal failure or a shattering revelation that forces you to confront your own weaknesses. That searing experience is a form of calcination, reducing your old self to ashes. Next came dissolution, where those ashes were washed away. This is the stage of surrender, of letting go completely, often experienced as a period of deep confusion or emotional release, where the structures of your old identity dissolve into a formless state. Only from this fluid state could coagulation begin, the process of reforming a new, more authentic self from the purified essence. Each sharp turn in the alchemical process, each moment of apparent setback or prolonged waiting, was not a failure. It was a deliberate challenge designed to burn away another impurity, to force a deeper level of surrender. The final destination of this inner labyrinth was the creation of the philosopher's stone, a symbol not of a physical object, but of a state of being. Achieving the stone meant attaining spiritual perfection and unity, a consciousness of gold, radiant and incorruptible. The center of the labyrinth was, for the alchemist, this ultimate state of enlightenment, where the seeker finally becomes the sought. Every step into the labyrinth's winding course mirrors a journey up the very axis of your being. Picture the entrance not as a simple gate, but as the root chakra, the foundation of your energy body. This is Muladhara, the red wheel of energy at the base of your spine. As your foot first touches the path, you are grounding yourself, establishing a connection to the earth and a sense of safety and stability. This is the essential first step, the anchor for everything that follows. The path then begins its first series of turns, coiling back and forth. These initial shifts engage the sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, located just below your navel. This is the center of creativity, emotion, and flow. The gentle, rhythmic sway of your body as you navigate these early curves stirs this creative energy, inviting a sense of fluidity and connection to your own inner tides. As the path continues, it often leads you through wider arcs that resonate with the solar plexus chakra, Manipura. This is your core of personal power, will, and self-esteem. Walking these sections, you feel a growing sense of agency, a conscious engagement with your own life force as you move purposefully toward the center. Then the path often stretches into longer, more direct circuits. These passages align with the heart chakra, Anahata. Here, the journey softens, your breathing deepens, and your focus shifts from personal will to universal connection. This is the space of compassion, love, and openness, where the boundaries between you and the path begin to dissolve. The way then narrows, drawing your attention inward as you approach the labyrinth's heart. This final approach activates the throat chakra, Vishuddha. Your steps become more deliberate, your awareness more focused. This is the center of authentic expression and truth, where the inner knowing you have gathered along the walk prepares to be voiced, even if only in a silent prayer. The last turn, the step into the center itself, is the awakening of the third eye, Ajna. This is the seat of intuition and inner vision. In that moment of arrival, the mental chatter ceases, and you simply see. You perceive the pattern in its entirety from within, and then you stand in the center. This sacred space is the crown chakra, Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus at the top of your head. It is the point of pure consciousness, of divine union. Here, in the heart of the labyrinth, you are no longer just walking a path. You become the path, experiencing a moment of cosmic consciousness where the individual self merges with the infinite. The entire walk becomes a living meditation, a conscious activation of your spiritual anatomy, from the grounded earth to the boundless sky. This threefold journey maps directly onto the body, mind, and spirit. The outermost circuit of a classical labyrinth grounds you in the physical world. Here, your awareness is on the simple, tangible act of walking. You feel the solid ground beneath your feet, the slight sway of your body with each turn, the rhythm of your own breath. This first stage is about embodiment, about arriving fully in your physical form and releasing the tensions held within it. You are not yet trying to achieve a deep state of meditation. You are simply present with the weight of your body and the sensation of movement, anchoring your consciousness firmly in the here and now. This is the realm of the body, the foundational layer of our existence. As the path turns inward, you cross a subtle threshold into the second circuit, the world of the mind and psyche. The initial physical sensations begin to recede into the background, and your internal landscape comes into focus. This is where thoughts arise and drift by like clouds. You might find yourself replaying a conversation from the day, worrying about a future task, or simply observing the endless stream of mental chatter. The winding path here mirrors the winding nature of your own thoughts. Instead of fighting them, you learn to let them flow without attachment, allowing the rhythmic motion of the walk to gently untangle mental knots. This middle world is the bridge, the crucial passage where you move from external sensory awareness to the vast internal sea of your own psyche. The final turn leads you into the innermost circuit, the sacred domain of spirit. Here, the noise of the mind softens into a profound quiet. The boundaries of your individual self seem to dissolve, and you enter a state of pure, spacious awareness. This is not a place of thinking, but of being. It is a direct experience of connection to something greater than yourself, a timeless essence that some call soul, consciousness, or the divine. In this inner world, you are no longer just a body walking a path. You become the path itself and the silence at its heart. The journey through these three circuits is a complete cycle of transformation. You move from the dense reality of the body, through the flowing currents of the mind, and into the still center of spirit, and then you turn to walk back out. You carry that inner stillness with you, allowing it to infuse your mind with clarity and your body with a renewed sense of peace. You return to the outer world not as you left it, but transformed, having woven the three layers of your being into a more harmonious whole. This powerful symbol does not only appear in stone and myth, it often surfaces in the quiet of the night, emerging from the depths of your own mind. When a labyrinth appears in your dreams, it is a profound message from your unconscious self. You may find yourself standing at its entrance, feeling a mix of apprehension and curiosity, or you might already be walking its confusing corridors. This dream image almost always surfaces during times of transition, when you feel lost, stuck between choices, or uncertain of your direction in waking life. The dream labyrinth is a direct reflection of this inner state of confusion, a map of your own psychological crossroads, yet it is never just a symbol of being lost. It is an invitation to find your way. The very presence of the path is the dream's way of telling you that a route through your confusion exists, even if you cannot see it from where you're standing. The winding dream path asks you to do the very thing that feels most difficult in waking life. It asks you to stop struggling to force a solution with your logical mind and instead to trust in a different kind of guidance. This is where Ariadne's thread reappears, not as a physical string, but as the voice of your own intuition within the dream. Perhaps you have a sudden knowing of which way to turn. Maybe a guiding figure appears, or you notice a subtle, glowing trail on the ground. To follow this thread in a dream is to trust the deep, non-rational wisdom of your own psyche. It is an act of surrendering control and allowing your inner compass to lead you. And what is it that you are being guided toward, or perhaps guided to confront? At the heart of this dream labyrinth, you will likely encounter your own personal Minotaur. This is rarely a literal monster. It is far more likely to be a powerful emotion you have been avoiding, a buried memory, a hidden aspect of your personality, or a difficult truth you have refused to face. This shadow self might appear as a menacing stranger, a forgotten childhood self, or even as a feeling of overwhelming dread in a particular section of the labyrinth. The dream is presenting you with a choice. You can turn and run, remaining lost in the winding passages of your own avoidance, or you can find the courage, fueled by that thread of intuition, to stand and face what you find there. This confrontation is the dream's ultimate purpose. It is a call to integrate the very thing you have locked away, to acknowledge your whole self, light and dark. When you do this, when you face your dream Minotaur, the labyrinth transforms, the path to the center clears, and you arrive at a place of profound calm and understanding. This center is your true self, the core of your being that exists beyond confusion and fear. A dream of a labyrinth is not a nightmare to be dismissed. It is a sacred blueprint for your own healing and growth, a direct call from your soul to embark on the most important journey you will ever take, the journey home to who you really are. This same sacred geometry that structures the labyrinth finds a powerful echo in the ancient mandalas of the East. A mandala is a cosmic diagram, a sacred circle representing the universe in its perfect, harmonious form. And just like the labyrinth, every line and curve of a mandala is a deliberate map of the soul's journey from the outer chaos of the world to the inner peace of the divine center. When you gaze upon a traditional Tibetan sand mandala, with its intricate patterns radiating from a central point, you are not just looking at art, you are seeing a visual representation of the same spiritual truth encoded in the winding path at Chartres. The labyrinth is, in essence, a mandala you can walk. Its symmetrical, circular form creates a sacred container, a protected space where the noise of the world is left outside the lines. This boundary is crucial. It tells your mind that within this circle, a different set of rules applies. Here, you are safe to turn inward. The act of simply looking at a labyrinth can quiet a restless mind. Try it for a moment. Find an image of a classical labyrinth and let your eyes softly trace the single path from the entrance to the center. Do not rush. Follow its gentle turns and loops. You might notice your breathing begins to slow. The frantic chatter of your thoughts starts to settle, as if your awareness is being gently pulled along by the path itself. This is the power of the form. It gives your busy mind a single, simple task, a focal point to replace the swirling distractions. It acts as a psychic anchor, holding your attention firmly in the present moment. In deep meditation, you can close your eyes and visualize yourself walking this path. In your mind's eye, you take the first step, feeling the firm ground beneath your feet. You follow the winding route, not with urgency, but with a calm, deliberate pace. Each turn you navigate internally is another layer of mental clutter that you release. You are using the labyrinth as an internal map, guiding your consciousness from the crowded periphery of your scattered thoughts, through the quieter suburbs of your emotions, and finally arriving at the silent, unified center of pure awareness. At this center, the map itself dissolves. You no longer need the path because you have become the piece it was leading you toward. Both the labyrinth and the mandala serve the same ultimate purpose. They are not the destination, but the vehicles. They are the beautiful, intricate ships that carry you across the ocean of your own mind, so you can discover the vast, still continent that has been within you all along. This ancient symbol of the labyrinth is the hidden architecture of every great story ever told. Its winding path is a perfect mirror for the universal pattern of transformation that mythologist Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey. That first step across the threshold of the labyrinth is the call to adventure. It is the moment you feel a stirring, an undeniable pull to leave your ordinary world behind and step into the unknown, answering a quest that feels both terrifying and deeply necessary for your soul. Once you cross that boundary, the path begins its long, meandering journey inward. This is the road of trials, a series of tests and challenges that seem to lead you in circles. Every sharp turn that feels like a setback, every passage that doubles back on itself, represents an obstacle you must face, a lesson you must learn, or a fear you must overcome on your way to the heart of the matter. This is where you shed the parts of yourself that are no longer true, where your resolve is tested and your character is forged, and then you arrive at the center. In the language of the hero's journey, this is the supreme ordeal. It is the belly of the whale, the inescapable confrontation with your greatest fear or your deepest truth. Here, in that sacred, still space, you face your personal Minotaur, but if you have the courage to stand your ground, the ordeal transforms into apotheosis. This is a moment of divine revelation, a shattering of your old perception. You achieve a new level of awareness, receiving the ultimate boon, a gift of profound insight, peace, or understanding about who you are and your place in the cosmos. This is the treasure you came for, yet the journey is only half complete. The hero must return to the world. The path back out of the labyrinth is the return with the elixir. You are not retreating, you are integrating. You carry the wisdom from the center back with you, weaving it into your life as you walk the same winding path, but now with new eyes. The elixir is that hard-won gift you now share with your community, the healing insight that can mend old wounds, or simply the quiet, unshakable peace you bring to your everyday interactions. Your entire life is a series of these labyrinthine journeys. Every major transition, every period of profound loss, every creative endeavor, and every leap of faith follows this same sacred pattern. You are called, you walk the challenging path, you face your ordeal and receive a gift, and you return to your world forever changed. The labyrinth is not just a symbol from dusty myths. It is the living, breathing map of your own continuous transformation, a reminder that you are, and always have been, the hero of your own story. After centuries of quiet dormancy, the labyrinth is re-emerging into our modern world with a new and urgent purpose. You can now find these ancient paths woven into the lawns of public parks, nestled in the gardens of hospitals, and traced into the quiet corners of churchyards. This is not a trend in landscaping, but a grassroots revival of a powerful healing tool adapted for the anxieties of our time. In an era defined by digital noise and relentless speed, the labyrinth offers a radical alternative, a prescription for stillness written not on a pad, but on the earth. It provides a simple, accessible practice for stress reduction, a way to physically walk away from the whirlwind in your mind and into a state of active mindfulness. For someone grappling with grief, the path offers a container for overwhelming emotion. There are no wrong turns, no demands to figure anything out. You simply place one foot in front of the other, and the winding journey allows sorrow to move through you, step by step, rather than remaining stuck inside. The labyrinth gives you a profound sense of agency amidst powerlessness. You are not being told to sit still and meditate. You are taking your confusion, your fear, or your sadness for a walk, and the path itself does the work of untangling the knots within. This is powerfully evident in hospital settings, where labyrinths are increasingly built for patients, families, and even staff. For a person facing a daunting diagnosis, the walk to the center can symbolize a journey toward healing, a tangible act of moving forward when life feels frozen. For a weary family member keeping vigil, the path offers a respite, a few moments to release the weight of worry into the gentle curves of the walk, finding a fleeting sense of control in a situation where they have very little. The labyrinth becomes a silent sanctuary, a non-denominational chapel under the open sky where the only requirement is to breathe and to walk. Beyond individual healing, these paths are also weaving communities back together. A community labyrinth walk is a remarkable experience. People gather and walk the same path, yet each person is on their own private pilgrimage. There is no conversation, only the shared rustle of feet on grass or stone, the collective rhythm of inhalation and exhalation. In that silent, shared intention, a deep sense of connection blooms. Strangers become companions on the journey, not through words, but through a mutual commitment to going inward. It is a powerful reminder that we are all walking our own winding paths, and that our solitary journeys are, paradoxically, what unite us most deeply. The labyrinth's enduring power lies in this beautiful duality, offering a personal tool for inner peace that simultaneously draws us back into the healing embrace of community. You can trace this sacred geometry right outside your own door. The act of creating a labyrinth is as profound as walking it, transforming any patch of ground into a portal for inner exploration. You do not need stone or a master builder. The simplest materials will do. A long rope coiled on the grass can be shaped into a gentle path. A piece of sidewalk chalk can outline a journey on your driveway. A can of temporary spray paint can mark a circuit on a flat section of earth. If you have no physical materials at all, you can draw a labyrinth with your mind, visualizing its path in perfect detail as you walk a slow, intentional circle in your backyard. The most accessible designs are beautiful in their simplicity. The three-circuit labyrinth is a wonderful starting point, a compact journey with three distinct rings leading to the center. For a more traditional and meditative experience, the classical seven-circuit labyrinth offers a longer, more winding path, echoing the ancient forms of Crete and Chartres. The process of laying out this pattern is a meditation in itself. As you measure the turns and place your rope or chalk, you are not just constructing a path. You are setting an intention. You are declaring a space sacred, carving out a small piece of the chaotic world for the sole purpose of peace and discovery. Each deliberate action, from tying a knot to drawing a line, becomes a prayer, a physical commitment to the journey you are about to undertake. By the time you step back and see the completed form lying before you, the first and most important part of the work is already complete. You have built not just a labyrinth, but a sanctuary. Stand at the threshold and pause for a single, grounding breath. This is where your ritual begins, not with a step, but with a question whispered to your own soul. What do you need to release? What guidance are you seeking? This initial intention is the seed you plant at the entrance, the quiet focus that will guide your entire walk inward. As you cross into the first circuit, you enter the phase of purgation. With each deliberate step, consciously let go. Imagine your worries as stones in your pocket, and with every turn of the path, you take one out and leave it behind. The mental chatter about your unfinished work, the simmering frustration from an earlier conversation, the vague anxiety about tomorrow, all of it can be surrendered to the path. You are not rushing, you are shedding, lightening your emotional load with every footfall until you feel emptier, quieter, and more open than when you began. The winding route itself does the work of unraveling your tension, so by the time you approach the center, you arrive not with a busy mind, but with a receptive heart. Then you step into the center. This is the stage of illumination, a sacred pause where the goal is not to think, but to be. Stay for as long as you feel called. You might sit or simply stand in the quiet. This is not a space for active problem solving. It is a space for listening. Breathe deeply and rest in the stillness you have cultivated on your walk-in. The insight that arrives may not be a dramatic voice or a clear answer. It might simply be a feeling of profound peace, a sudden sense of connection, or a single clear word that surfaces in the silence like a bubble from a deep well. This is the gift of the center, the illumination that comes not from striving, but from allowing. When you feel ready, you turn to begin the journey out. This return walk is the phase of union. Now your focus shifts to integration. As you retrace the same winding path, you are no longer releasing, you are gathering. You carry the quiet certainty from the center back with you into the world. How will this new piece change your approach to a difficult conversation? How will that flicker of clarity influence a decision you have been avoiding? With each step outward, you weave the inner revelation into the fabric of your outer life, preparing to carry the sacred back into the ordinary. The entire ritual, from setting an intention to returning with a gift, transforms a simple walk into a complete cycle of spiritual renewal, a conversation between your deepest self and your daily life. This ancient symbol of the inner journey has not been lost to time. It thrives in the heart of our modern stories, reflecting our deepest anxieties and aspirations back at us through the silver screen. Guillermo del Toro's masterpiece, Pan's Labyrinth, presents the labyrinth not as a stone path, but as a living, breathing portal. For the young heroine Ophelia, the crumbling stone archway is a threshold into a mythical realm that exists parallel to the brutal reality of post-Civil War Spain. Her journey through this labyrinth is not a quiet meditation, but a series of perilous tests. Each mythical creature she encounters, from the ancient faun to the terrifying pale man, is a profound test of her character. The labyrinth becomes a moral crucible, forcing her to choose between blind obedience and compassionate action, between fearful survival and courageous self-sacrifice. It is a powerful reminder that the spiritual path is not an escape from the world's darkness, but a way to find the courage to transform it. A different kind of labyrinth appears in the cult classic film, Labyrinth. Here, David Bowie's Goblin King, Jareth, is the ultimate trickster figure presiding over a maze of ever-shifting walls and logic-defying staircases. This labyrinth is a brilliant metaphor for the confusing journey of adolescence itself. The protagonist Sarah is not fighting a literal monster, but navigating the tumultuous transition from childhood to adulthood. Jareth, with his seductive promises and frustrating riddles, represents the alluring pull of fantasy and the refusal of responsibility. Every wrong turn in his maze mirrors a teenage mistake, a moment of giving in to whimsy over wisdom. The labyrinth becomes the physical manifestation of her internal struggle, a chaotic playground where she must learn to balance her childhood dreams with the burgeoning demands of maturity. These modern stories prove the labyrinth's symbolic power is eternally relevant. It remains the perfect map for any great transition, any period of profound confusion where the old self must be shed for the new to be born. Whether facing the moral horrors of fascism or the personal chaos of growing up, the labyrinth endures as cinema's most profound symbol for the winding path of the human heart. Perhaps the most profound mystery of the labyrinth is that it might not be a map of the mind at all, but a blueprint for the cosmos. What if its winding path is a literal diagram of reality's deepest structure? A growing conversation between speculative physics and ancient mysticism suggests exactly that. The single, non-linear route, which seems to meander so illogically, could be a stunningly accurate model for our quantum universe. In the strange world of quantum mechanics, particles are not tiny billiard balls. They exist in a haze of probability, and they can become entangled, instantaneously influencing each other across vast distances of space. This isn't a straight line connection. It's a relationship that seems to loop and fold back on itself, much like the path of a labyrinth that turns away from the center only to ultimately draw nearer. Some interpretations of physics even propose our universe is a hologram, a three-dimensional projection of information stored on a two-dimensional surface. If that is true, then every part contains the whole. Every twist in the labyrinth's path, no matter how seemingly peripheral, holds the complete pattern of the center. So what is walking this cosmic labyrinth? It is consciousness itself. Your awareness is not a passive observer in a pre-built universe. It is an active participant, walking the very fabric of spacetime, experiencing the illusion of linear time as it journeys along this coiled, singular path. And that still point at the heart of it all, the destination of every pilgrimage. This is what physicists might call the unified field, the singular source from which all forces and particles, all of space and time, emerge. It is the primordial center where the separation between observer and observed dissolves completely. The labyrinth, then, is far more than a spiritual metaphor. It is a living model of a participatory universe, inviting you to see that your journey inward is not separate from the great unfolding of reality itself. But what happens when the thread is cut? The same sacred path that offers transformation can, in an instant, become a cage. This is the shadow labyrinth, a place where the winding journey is no longer a guided meditation but a dizzying trap. Without the lifeline of intuition, without that inner trust, every turn feels like a mistake. You walk the same circuits over and over, but now they feel like cycles of worry, patterns of self-criticism, or loops of a story you cannot escape. This is the labyrinth as a prison of our own making, a perfect symbol for existential dread and the feeling of being utterly lost inside your own life. You are still on the path, but you have forgotten it leads somewhere. You have become the Minotaur, not the hero. The beast in its maze is a tragic figure, a creature so identified with its own confinement that it no longer remembers the world outside the walls. It is a powerful image of the ego lost in its own defenses, snarling and cornered by the very structures it built for protection. When we are trapped in this shadow state, we are not just walking in circles. We are the circle. We become the negative thought that replays, the addictive behavior that promises escape but only deepens the walls, the belief that we are fundamentally stuck. Recognizing this state is not a failure. It is the first and most crucial step back toward the light. The moment you can name the feeling, the moment you can say, "I am lost in my own labyrinth," is the very same moment your hand brushes against a forgotten thread. That simple act of awareness is you, picking it up once more. The most certain journey any of us will ever take is the one into the great unknown. It is no surprise that the labyrinth, our most enduring map of transformation, also charts the soul's final voyage. In cultures across the world, this winding path serves as a profound symbol for the passage from life through death and into what lies beyond. The entrance to the labyrinth becomes the moment of our final breath, the point where we leave the familiar, physical world behind and cross the threshold into a new state of being. The long, meandering walk that follows represents the journey through the bardo, the intermediate states described in Tibetan Buddhism, or the liminal realms found in countless other traditions. These are not straight paths to a final judgment, but winding passages of reckoning and reflection, where the soul reviews the life it has lived, releases its attachments, and prepares for its next great adventure. Every turn in this final labyrinth is a test of letting go, a challenge to surrender the identity we so carefully constructed, until we stand naked and authentic, ready for the ultimate center. And what is that destination? It is the realm of the ancestors, the brilliant light of the divine, the source from which we all came and to which we all return. This is not an end, but a homecoming. Archaeological evidence gives this spiritual concept a powerful, tangible form. Ancient labyrinths are frequently discovered in direct association with burial sites and tombs. They were not built as decorative puzzles for the living, but as sacred gateways for the dead. To walk one of these paths in a funeral rite, or to inscribe its symbol on a grave, was to perform a powerful act of psychopomp work, guiding the soul of the departed along the correct route. It was a map placed in the hands of the dying, a visual prayer that the journey ahead, though mysterious and winding, had a clear and sacred structure. The labyrinth assured both the living and the dead that the soul was not cast adrift into chaos, but was following a preordained path back to its origin, a single, unbroken thread leading all the way home. That final journey home reveals a profound truth. The labyrinth is not just a path to walk, but a world to feel. To truly walk its winding course is to engage every part of your being, beginning with the simple, grounding sensation of the earth beneath your feet. Whether you are tracing a chalk outline on concrete or walking a grassy path worn smooth by other pilgrims, pay attention to the texture. Feel the cool, unyielding solidity of stone, the gentle spring of damp soil, or the soft crush of gravel. This physical connection is your anchor, a constant reminder that this spiritual journey is happening right here, in your body, in this very moment. As you walk, open your ears to the symphony around you. There is the obvious music of the world, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the distant call of a bird, but then, listen deeper, there is the sound of your own breath, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the soft whisper of your clothing with each step. The labyrinth teaches you to hear the layers of your own existence. From the external world, you are temporarily leaving behind the internal landscape you are entering. Notice, too, how the light changes as you move. The sun casts long, dancing shadows that stretch and contract with the path's curves. You might move from bright, open light into a dappled, shaded section, mirroring the journey of your own awareness from conscious thought into the softer, more intuitive realms of the psyche. This play of light and shadow is a silent story of revelation and mystery unfolding with every turn. You can deepen this sensory immersion even further by introducing scent, one of the most powerful and immediate triggers of memory and emotion. Before you begin your walk, consider placing a single drop of an essential oil at the 4 quarters of the labyrinth, or simply anoint your own wrists. The rich, sacred aroma of frankincense can elevate the experience, connecting you to centuries of spiritual ritual and inviting a sense of the divine. The calming, gentle scent of lavender can help soothe a restless mind, easing anxiety and allowing for a deeper state of receptivity. When you engage all your senses in this way, the labyrinth ceases to be a mere pattern. It becomes a living, breathing ecosystem for your soul. The symbolic journey transforms into a fully embodied experience, where every sight, sound, and smell becomes a part of the prayer, weaving the sacred directly into the fabric of your physical reality. This same path that quiets the mind can also awaken its most creative capacities. When you carry a specific problem into the labyrinth, the journey transforms into a dynamic dialogue with your own intuition. Before you take your first step, choose a single question or a stuck decision to hold lightly in your awareness. It might be a creative block in your work, a crossroads in a relationship, or a complex logistical challenge. Do not clutch it tightly, demanding an immediate answer. Instead, offer it up like a seed you are planting, trusting the path itself to provide the right conditions for it to grow. As you begin the winding walk inward, this is your active phase of releasing. With every step, consciously let go of your attachment to how you think the problem should be solved. Release the pressure to find the one right answer. Let go of the timelines, the expectations, and the fear of making a wrong choice. The labyrinth's meandering route is a physical lesson in surrendering control, teaching you that the direct, linear approach is not the only way forward. By the time you arrive at the center, your mind should feel spacious and open, having set down the heavy burden of forcing a solution. In that quiet heart space, simply pause and be receptive. Do not try to think your way through the problem, instead listen. An answer may not arrive as a fully formed sentence. It might be a fleeting image, a sudden memory, a wave of emotion, or a simple knowing that feels solid and true. It could be the face of a person you need to call, or a color that represents the feeling of the right path. The key is to resist the urge to analyze or judge whatever arises. This is the gift of illumination, an insight born from the subconscious, delivered when the noisy engine of linear thought has been gentled by the walk. Then you turn to walk back out. This return journey is the phase of integration and practical application. As you retrace the path, gently begin to ask, how can this insight be applied? If you received an image, what is its first, most practical step? If you felt a surge of confidence about one option over another, what would the next action be? The winding path out allows you to weave this new, intuitive understanding back into the fabric of your logical mind, creating a bridge between inspiration and action. The labyrinth's true genius for problem solving lies in this very process. Logical thinking walks in straight lines, but life rarely does. The labyrinth's non-linear path mirrors the winding nature of our deepest challenges, and in doing so, it often unlocks the non-linear, elegant solutions that were hiding in plain sight all along. We have walked the long and winding path together, from the stone floors of ancient cathedrals to the quiet chambers of the dreaming mind. We have seen how this single, unbroken line maps the hero's journey, the alchemist's transformation, and the very structure of our own consciousness. The labyrinth's ultimate secret is that it has never been an external mystery to be solved. It is a mirror, reflecting back the beautiful, complex, and sacred journey of your own soul. It reminds us that our path to the center is not meant to be a direct or hasty one. Each apparent detour, every moment of feeling lost, and all the turns that seem to lead away from our goal are, in truth, essential parts of a sacred dance. This winding route is the teacher, guiding us to release what we no longer need, to listen for the quiet voice within, and to find the courage to face what we keep in the shadows. It is a timeless promise that we are always guided by an invisible thread of intuition, that our inner Minotaur of fear and chaos can be met with compassion and integrated into our wholeness, and that every single step we take, no matter how confusing, is a vital part of a beautiful and purposeful whole. The story of the labyrinth is now yours to continue. We pass you the thread. What does this ancient symbol mean in your own life? Share your stories and discoveries in the comments below. And if this journey into hidden symbolism has spoken to you, subscribe for more explorations into the maps of the soul.